All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Welcome back to part 4 of our 6-part AI FinOps tutorial. So if you've been following along with us, you know we've already covered the hidden reality of AI economics. We've set up visibility, and we've audited our spend. But today we're tackling what might just be the most fascinating and honestly impactful piece of the whole puzzle. We are unpacking chapter 4 of our source material, which zeroes in on end user training. Basically, we're figuring out how to transform your everyday employees into highly efficient AI operators.
Here's a quick look at our curriculum for today. We're going to breeze through the end user cost lever, break down the 4 pillars of AI training, set up some solid budget guardrails, establish an operational review rhythm, and then wrap things up with scaling AI investments. So let's kick things off with section 1, the end user cost lever. Now, organizations spend a massive amount of time letting their platform engineers optimize infrastructure, right? And they have procurement teams aggressively negotiating enterprise contracts to optimize the backend beautifully. But we really have to stop and ask ourselves, what is the absolute most underutilized lever in AI cost optimization? Like, what are we totally missing while we're so hyper-focused on the vendor level? Well, the answer is end user behavior. Because when you think about it, at the end of the day, it's the daily prompt writing habits of thousands of regular employees that are actually generating the token consumption. Your procurement team isn't writing the prompts, your marketing, sales, and HR teams are. So a thoughtful, ongoing training program that teaches these folks about AI economics, it isn't just a nice-to-have HR initiative. It is literally your frontline defense for measurable cost control. To put that into perspective, an unoptimized daily workflow from just a single employee acts like a direct, continuous draw on corporate funds. Every single keystroke, every massive document they paste into a prompt entirely bypasses procurement. When an employee runs an inefficient prompt, there's no purchase order, there's no manager approval, it's just immediate token consumption that's going to land on the finance team's desk 30 days later. Which brings us nicely to section 2, the 4 pillars of AI training. So how do we actually change those costly behaviors at scale? The source material lays out 4 specific pillars of education: token economics, model selection, semantic caching, and output efficiency. We have to train our users on each of these so they fundamentally understand that their keyboard is essentially hooked directly to a corporate meter. Let's break down that first pillar, token economics. The foundational lesson here is simply teaching employees that every word they type and every word they attach costs real money. Compare the habit of pasting a full 20-page document into an AI tool just to ask a simple summary question against a highly optimized prompt where the user only pastes the relevant 2 paragraphs. The text notes that the unoptimized user is generating 10 to 50 times the token cost of the optimized user. Showing employees this simple before and after cost difference completely changes how they interact with the tool. For our second pillar, model selection, we have to look at how users actually choose their AI tools. Right now, most organizations just give employees access to flagship models, like GPT-4o or Gemini 1.5 Pro, and employees naturally default to them for absolutely everything. But we've got to stop defaulting to these massive, expensive models for simple tasks like basic formatting or sentiment classification. Lighter models like Gemini Flash or GPT-4o Mini perform those specific tasks just as well, but at a fraction of the cost. Training users to route their tasks correctly is a massive lever for efficiency. Now, our third pillar, semantic caching, is a total game changer, especially for power users and developers. This is basically the practice of storing and reusing LLM responses for queries that are semantically similar. Think about it. If 10 people ask your internal AI HR bot the exact same question about the holiday policy, you really shouldn't be paying the LLM to generate that same answer 10 separate times from scratch. Organizations that teach their users to flag repeated query patterns for caching can yield an incredible 15 to 50% reduction in API call volume. And finally, the fourth pillar is output efficiency. This one is super simple. It just means explicitly specifying response limits in your prompts. If you just need the highlights, teach your users to specifically ask for a 3-bullet summary or maybe a 200-word response instead of leaving it completely open-ended. This immediately drops your output token costs, and it doesn't sacrifice a single drop of utility for the intended use case. All right, let's pivot from education to enforcement with Section 3, establishing budget guardrails. The reality is, every single project, internal tool, and product feature needs a defined monthly token budget. You really can't just look at the aggregate organizational spend and hope for the best. You need automated alerts firing off to project owners at 70% and 90% of their limit, plus a hard spending cap. And if they hit that hard cap, it should require an explicit approval workflow to override. This is absolutely crucial to prevent that all-too-common nightmare where a single, buggy internal integration silently consumes half your quarterly AI budget over a long weekend.
Next up, Section 4, the operational rhythm. So, to make this all stick, the operational rhythm requires 3 distinct time horizons. Step 1 focuses entirely on daily anomaly detection. You need automated alerts hunting for cost spikes or unusual patterns, and those need to be routed directly to a named on-call owner who can respond within hours. Then we step back a bit for Step 2, weekly cross-functional performance reviews. This is where engineering, product, and finance all look at the previous week's spend against the budget to spot optimization opportunities. And finally, Step 3 is your monthly forecasting session, where you take all that trend data to project future consumption and update your baseline models.
Okay, let's bring it all together in Section 5, scaling AI investments. The biggest cultural shift this entire playbook drives is illustrated perfectly by the trade-off triangle. We have to realize that not all AI spend is equal, right? A dollar spent on an LLM call that resolves a really complex customer support ticket in 30 seconds, that is an incredible investment. But a dollar spent generating a massive internal report that literally no one reads, that's pure waste. So our goal isn't just to blindly minimize cost, it's to perfectly balance latency, output quality, and price for every unique use case.
And look, the results of taking this structured approach are just undeniable. According to Chapter 4 of the text, organizations that actually implement this formal operational rhythm and consistently train their end users identify massive 25 to 35% cost reduction opportunities within their very first 90 days. That is real budget that can be directly reallocated to scaling the AI features that are actually moving the needle for the business. So before we wrap up Part 4 of this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, really profound thought directly from the source material. The organizations that win with AI won't just throw money at the wall. They will be the ones that invest most intelligently, measure outcomes rigorously, and build the internal competencies to continuously improve. So I have to ask you, are you just spending blindly on AI, or are you investing intelligently? Think about that. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time for Part 5.